The Grand Alliance. In the glimmering halls of the Galactic Alliance Citadel, representatives from 1,000 star systems gathered. For millennia, the Alliance had reigned supreme, its member civilizations sharing knowledge, trade, and protection. Their combined military might was unrivaled, a testament to the advanced technologies of the Verithax, the psionic powers of the Quellari, and the sheer numbers of the insectoid swarms. Presiding over the assembly was Grand Admiral Zorval, a seasoned warrior of the reptilian Verithax. His scales gleamed under the soft light as he addressed the gathered dignitaries. For ages, our alliance has maintained peace and order across the galaxy. But now, a new threat has emerged. The humans, a young and aggressive species, have begun to expand beyond their allotted borders. They ignore our warnings and challenge our authority. Murmurs of concern rippled through the chamber. The humans were newcomers on the galactic stage, their technology primitive compared to the wonders of the Alliance. Yet they had proven resourceful and unpredictable. We have tolerated their insolence for too long, Zorval continued, his voice hardening. It is time we remind them of their place. Our fleets will assemble and strike at the heart of their fledgling empire. We will crush their resistance and bring them to heel, as we have done to so many others before them. The gathered leaders nodded in agreement, their resolve hardening. The humans would learn to respect the might of the Grand Alliance, one way or another. The Terran Uprising. On the bustling streets of New Terra, capital world of the Terran Federation, life thrummed with energy and purpose. Towering skyscrapers reached for the heavens, their surfaces adorned with lush vertical gardens. High-speed maglev trains wove between the buildings, carrying the lifeblood of the city. In a modest apartment overlooking the metropolis, Captain Lena Sorensen of the Terran Space Fleet reviewed the latest intelligence reports. The Galactic Alliance was mobilizing, their vast armadas converging on human space. War seemed inevitable. Lena's comm link chirped, and a holographic image of Admiral Graves appeared before her. The old man's face was lined with concern. Captain Sorensen, I'll cut straight to the point. The Alliance is coming for us. They mean to make an example of humanity, to crush our spirit, and force us back into line. Lena nodded grimly. We've always known this day would come, Admiral. They fear what we represent. Change, innovation, a challenge to their stagnant order. Indeed, Graves agreed, which is why we've been preparing for this moment. The Titan is ready. A thrill ran through Lena at the mention of the Titan. The pinnacle of human ingenuity and defiance, a battleship unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. I'll gather my crew immediately. We'll give the Alliance a fight they won't soon forget. As the hologram winked out, Lena gazed out over the city once more. The Terran Federation had come so far, rising from the ashes of old Earth, to forge a new destiny among the stars. They would not bend the knee to the Alliance, not without a fight. The time for hiding and compromise was over. Now they would stand tall and proud, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. For the future of humanity, they would risk everything. The fateful encounter. The Alliance fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, hundreds of ships arranged in a grand armada that stretched as far as the eye could see. At the heart of the formation was the Firstborn, a massive dreadnought that served as the flagship of Grand Admiral Zorval. On the bridge of the Firstborn, Zorval surveyed the tactical displays with a mix of anticipation and disdain. The human colony world of Arcadia hung in space before them, a blue-green jewel ripe for the taking. Scan for enemy ships, the Grand Admiral ordered, his voice cold and imperious. Sir, sensors are picking up a single vessel in orbit around the planet, one of the bridge officers reported, confusion evident in their voice. It's massive, sir, like nothing we've ever seen before. Zorval leaned forward, his eyes narrowing as he studied the readouts. There, hanging in space above Arcadia, was a ship that defied belief. It was enormous, easily dwarfing even the Firstborn in size. Its hull was a patchwork of thick armor plates and bristling weapons, a brutal yet elegant design that spoke of human ingenuity and determination. "What is that monstrosity?" Zorval demanded, a flicker of uncertainty playing across his scaled features. "They're hailing us, sir," the comms officer reported. "Audio only." "Put it through." The bridge speakers crackled to life, and a human voice filled the air. "This is Captain Lena Sorensen of the TSS Titan, representing the Terran Federation. You have entered our sovereign space with hostile intent. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Zorval scoffed, his earlier unease giving way to indignation. "You dare make demands of the Galactic Alliance? Your primitive species is no match for our might. Surrender now, and your worlds will be spared the full wrath of our fleets." There was a moment of silence. Then Captain Sorensen's voice returned, harder and more determined than before. "We will never surrender our freedom, not to you or anyone else. You've underestimated humanity, Admiral. That will be your last mistake." With those words, the Titan opened fire, a blinding barrage of energy beams and missiles that slammed into the front ranks of the Alliance fleet. Shields flared and buckled under the onslaught, and several ships simply vanished in blooms of fire and debris. On the bridge of the Firstborn, alarms blared and damage reports flooded in. Zorval stared in disbelief at the carnage unfolding before him. In a single salvo, this lone human ship had crippled a dozen of his best vessels. What kind of monsters were these humans, to wield such power? As the Alliance fleet struggled to regroup and return fire, Zorval realized with sinking certainty that this battle would not be the easy victory he had envisioned. The humans, it seemed, would not go quietly into the night. They would fight, and they would make the Alliance bleed for every inch of space. The war had only just begun. The tide turns. The battle raged on, the void of space lit by the flashes of weapons fire and the blooms of dying ships. The Alliance fleet, vast and powerful, hurled itself against the lone human battleship with all its might. And yet, against all odds, the Titan endured. Its hull, a marvel of human engineering, shrugged off the worst of the bombardment, auto-repair systems working overtime to seal breaches and maintain integrity. Its weapons, an eclectic mix of cutting-edge technology and tried-and-true design, lashed out with devastating precision, picking off enemy vessels one by one. On the bridge of the Titan, Captain Lena Sorensen orchestrated the chaos with cool determination. Her crew, the best and brightest the Terran Federation had to offer, worked their stations with fluid efficiency, adapting and improvising in the face of overwhelming odds. "Reroute power from the secondary reactors to the forward shields," Lena ordered as the ship shuddered under another impact. "And get me a firing solution on that Quellery battlecruiser, now." In the heart of the Titan's engine room, Chief Engineer Hassan Abedi coaxed miracles from the ship's experimental drive core. The device, a product of years of secret research and development, tapped into the fundamental forces of the universe in ways the Alliance had never dreamed of. Under Hassan's skillful guidance, it pulsed with barely contained power, providing the Titan with the energy it needed to keep fighting. As the battle stretched on, the toll on the Alliance fleet became increasingly apparent. Ships lay broken and drifting, their crews lost to the pitiless void. Those that remained fought on with growing desperation, hurling themselves at the Titan in a vain attempt to overwhelm its defenses. In the end, it was a single daring maneuver that turned the tide. Lena, seeing an opening in the enemy formation, ordered the Titan to rush forward, plunging into the heart of the Alliance fleet. The massive ship, its hull scared and battered but unbroken, tore through the enemy ranks like a juggernaut, its weapons blazing on all sides. The Alliance ships, caught off guard by the sudden charge, scattered and fell back in disarray. And in that moment of chaos and confusion, the Titan delivered the killing blow. A salvo of quantum torpedoes, the most powerful weapons in the human arsenal, slammed into the Firstborn, the pride of the Alliance fleet. The mighty dreadnought, its shields already weakened by the prolonged fighting, crumpled under the onslaught, its hull splitting open like a ripe fruit. On the bridge of the Firstborn, Grand Admiral Zorval could only watch in horror as his ship, his command, died around him. Consoles exploded in showers of sparks, and the hull groaned and twisted as the ship began to break apart. In those final moments, as the lights flickered and died, and the void rushed in to claim him, Zorval knew the bitter taste of defeat. The humans, those upstart primitives, had bested the might of the Galactic Alliance. Nothing would ever be the same. Aftermath and revelation. In the aftermath of the battle, the remnants of the Alliance fleet limped back to their home systems, bearing news of their stunning defeat. Across the worlds of the Alliance, shock and disbelief gave way to a grim new reality. The humans, once dismissed as a minor nuisance, had proven themselves a force to be reckoned with. In the halls of power, the leaders of the Alliance races gathered once more, their earlier confidence replaced by a palpable sense of unease. They had underestimated the humans, and paid a bitter price for their arrogance. "This cannot stand," one of the Verithax warlords growled, his scales rippling with barely contained rage. "We must marshal our full strength and crush the humans before they grow any stronger, and risk another humiliation," a Quillary matriarch countered, her telepathic voice tinged with caution. "The humans have already shown they are not to be trifled with. Perhaps it is time to reconsider our approach." As the debate raged on, a new voice cut through the clamor. It was the ambassador from the Orion Compact, a small but respected neutral power. "If I may," the diminutive alien said, their voice soft but commanding, "I believe there is more to this situation than meets the eye." The gathered leaders fell silent, their attention turning to the ambassador. The humans' victory was no fluke, no mere stroke of luck. The technology they employed, the tactics they used, these are not the marks of a primitive species fumbling its way to the stars. No, there is something else at work here. The ambassador produced a data crystal and inserted it into the chamber's main holoprojector. An image sprang to life above the gathered leaders, a star map marked with glowing points of light. "These," the ambassador said, "are the locations of other human colonies, ones we had not previously known about. And there are more, many more, stretching far beyond the borders of their supposed territory." A murmur of alarm rippled through the chamber as the implications sank in. The humans were not the fledgling, isolated species they had been led to believe. They were a sprawling, well-established power, with a reach that extended far beyond what the Alliance had ever suspected. "There's more," the ambassador continued. "Our intelligence has uncovered evidence that the Titan was not some one-off prototype or experimental vessel. It is but one of many, a single ship in a fleet of battleships that puts our own to shame. The humans have been holding back, biding their time, waiting for the right moment to reveal their true strength." Silence descended on the chamber, heavy and oppressive. For the first time in living memory, the leaders of the Galactic Alliance found themselves facing an uncomfortable truth. They were no longer the undisputed masters of the galaxy. The balance of power had shifted, and the future was suddenly a much more uncertain place. On the bridge of the Titan, Captain Lena Sorensen stood tall and proud, her crew arrayed behind her. They had done the impossible, standing against the might of the Alliance and emerging victorious. But their work was far from over. As the ship set course for the nearest human colony, Lena knew that the road ahead would be long and hard. The Alliance would not take this defeat lying down. They would regroup, and they would come for humanity with all their strength. But the humans would be ready, united and determined, fighting for their place among the stars. And in the heart of the Terran Federation, a new hope was kindled. The dream of a galaxy where humanity stood tall and free, beholden to no one but themselves. It was a dream worth fighting for, a dream that the crew of the Titan, and all the ships that followed in their wake, would gladly give their lives to make a reality. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: the age of human ascendancy had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. The end. First contact surprise. High Admiral Vexterra of the Galactic Hegemony stood motionless on a command deck of the HSS Inevitable Truth, her crystalline sensory filaments gleaming under the holographic displays. The massive exploration vessel, pride of the hegemony's third Discovery Fleet, hung in space at the edge of an unremarkable solar system. "Another primitive world," she muttered, studying the blue-green planet displayed on the main viewport. "Sensor Chief, begin standard evaluation protocols." But Chief Science Officer Clan's response wasn't the usual dry recitation of atmospheric composition and technological development markers. Instead, the usually stoic officer's voice carried an edge of confusion. "Admiral, we're experiencing some unusual readings." Vexterra's filaments shifted from their usual calm blue to an irritated orange. The Inevitable Truth carried the most advanced scanning technology in known space. Its quantum arrays could detect a handheld computer from orbit, map underground bunkers with perfect precision, and analyze the composition of a planet's core in seconds. Unusual how? The readings, they don't make sense. We're detecting primitive radio waves, consistent with early spacefaring civilization. But there's something else. Clan's tentacles twisted in agitation as he manipulated the holographic controls. There are energy signatures that simply shouldn't exist at this level of development. They appear and disappear at random. And the orbital space. "Show me," Vexterra commanded. The main display shifted, showing a representation of Earth's orbital space. At first glance, it appeared cluttered with primitive satellites and debris, exactly what one would expect from a young species taking its first steps into space. But as she watched, patterns emerged that made her sensory filaments pulse with alarm. The debris wasn't random. It moved with purpose, creating complex geometric patterns that shifted and flowed like a living thing. And scattered throughout were energy signatures that defied classification, quantum fluctuations that shouldn't be possible without technology centuries beyond what the surface scan suggested. "Launch probe series Alpha through Gamma," she ordered. "Fold spectrum analysis." The probes launched, sophisticated machines that represented the pinnacle of hegemony technology. They moved through space with perfect precision, their sensors extending invisible tendrils of analysis toward Earth. The first probe disappeared. Not exploded, not disabled, simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, the next it was gone, without any indication of weapon fire or defensive systems. The second probe began transmitting impossible data, readings that suggested it was simultaneously in a dozen different locations, experiencing multiple timelines at once. Then it too vanished. The third probe made it closest to Earth before its sensor feeds dissolved into chaos. In its final transmission, it reported detecting a fleet of ships larger than the entire hegemony navy. A second later, the readings changed to show nothing but empty space. Then it detected what appeared to be a small civilian transport. Then a gas giant. Then a star about to go supernova. Then nothing. Vexterra felt something she hadn't experienced in her 2 centuries of service. Genuine fear. "Signal the fleet," she ordered. "Full defensive formation. And open a communication channel on all frequencies." "Admiral," her communication officer interjected, "we're receiving a transmission. It's using our own encrypted channels." The main display flickered, and Vexterra found herself facing the human female in what appeared to be a formal uniform. The human smiled, and when she spoke, it was in perfect high hegemony dialect. "Welcome to Sol System, Admiral Vexterra. I'm Fleet Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. I hope you'll forgive our little demonstration, but we find it's best to establish certain facts early in these encounters." Vexterra's filaments pulsed rapidly. "You know who I am. You can access our secure channels, and you've done something to space itself around your world." "All true," Commander Chen replied. "We've been watching your approach for the past 3 months. Your stealth systems are impressive, but they rely on certain assumptions about physics that we moved beyond some time ago." "Impossible," Kalen burst out. Your species shows all the signs of early space development. The energy signatures, the technological markers, are exactly what we want others to see, Chen finished. We learned long ago that appearing harmless is often the best defense. The debris field you're seeing isn't trash. It's our first line of defense, a network of quantum-linked satellites that can reshape local spacetime at will. Those energy signatures you can't classify. They're leaks from our ship engines, which don't so much move through space as temporarily borrow alternate timelines where they're already at their destination. Vexterra felt her tactical mind finally catch up to what she was seeing. This wasn't just advanced technology. This was a completely different approach to physics itself. The hegemony had built its civilization on predictable, measurable scientific principles. These humans had somehow found ways to embrace chaos and uncertainty, to turn the random quantum fluctuations of reality into a technology that defied conventional understanding. "Why reveal yourselves now?" she asked. Chen's expression grew serious. "Because we've been monitoring your civilization long enough to know you're not conquerors or zealots. You're explorers, seekers of knowledge. And we believe it's time for humanity to stop hiding. The galaxy is changing, Admiral. New threats are emerging that will require cooperation, not isolation. We're offering an alliance, a chance to combine your mastery of conventional physics with our unconventional approaches." As if to emphasize the point, a massive ship simply appeared next to the inevitable truth. One moment empty space, the next a vessel easily twice the size of her own flagship. Its hull seemed to shift and flow, sometimes appearing to be made of solid metal, sometimes seeming almost transparent, as if it was partially phased into another dimension. "That's impossible," Kalan whispered again, but this time there was wonder in his voice rather than denial. "Impossible is what humans do best, Chief Science Officer," Chen replied with another smile. "Now shall we discuss the future?" Vexterra looked at the shifting vessel beside her ship, then back at the human commander. In that moment, she knew she was participating in a turning point in galactic history. The hegemony's understanding of the universe was about to change forever. "Yes, Commander Chen," she said, her filaments settling into a pattern indicating formal diplomatic contact. "I believe we have much to discuss." The Ghost Fleet. 3 months after first contact, High Admiral Vexterra found herself aboard the human vessel Quantum Dream, watching reality itself bend around her. The ship's observation deck offered a clear view of what the humans called their Ghost Fleet demonstration, and every passing moment made her question more of what she'd once considered fundamental laws of physics. "You have to understand," Lieutenant Commander Marcus Wong explained, his hands dancing over holographic controls that seemed to float in midair. "We took a different path to the stars than most species. When we realized we weren't alone in the galaxy, we didn't know if we'd be meeting friends or conquerors, so we built our fleet around one principle: unpredictability." As if to demonstrate his point, a squadron of human ships shimmered into view. One moment they appeared as massive dreadnoughts, the next as small corvettes, then as civilian transports, their very nature seeming to fluctuate between states of existence. "What you're seeing isn't cloaking technology," Wong continued. "It's reality manipulation on a quantum level. Each ship exists in multiple states simultaneously, and we can collapse those states at will to appear however we choose." Kalan, who had insisted on accompanying Vexterra despite his initial skepticism, leaned forward with undisguised fascination. "But the energy requirements must be astronomical." Wong smiled. "That's where you're thinking too conventionally. We don't generate energy to power these systems. We borrow it." "Borrow it?" Vexterra's sensory filaments twisted in confusion. "From where?" "From other timelines, other dimensions, even from slightly different versions of our own ships." Wang's expression grew serious. "We discovered something interesting when we started experimenting with quantum mechanics on a macro scale. Reality isn't single-threaded. It's more like a vast ocean of possibilities, all existing simultaneously. Our ships don't just travel through space. They surfed probability itself. A new vessel appeared, larger than the others. Unlike the militant designs of the Ghost Fleet, this one had the sleek lines of a research vessel. Its hull seemed to ripple like water, reflecting light that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. This, Wang said with evident pride, is the Einstein's Dream, our newest research vessel. It's not just a ship, it's a mobile probability manipulation laboratory. It can create stable zones where multiple timelines overlap, allowing us to experiment with different physical laws and technological approaches simultaneously. Vexterra watched as the Einstein's Dream demonstrated its capabilities. In one moment, it generated what appeared to be a small sun, contained within a field of shifting quantum states. In the next, it created a zone where gravity seemed to flow like water, forming complex geometric patterns in space. The implications for warfare are obvious, she noted, her tactical mind automatically assessing the military applications. Actually, Wang corrected gently, we're more interested in the peaceful applications. Imagine being able to terraform planets by borrowing atmospheric conditions from timeline variants where they developed differently, or solving energy crises by tapping into probability states where efficient fusion was developed centuries earlier. Kalan's tentacles were practically writhing with excitement. The mathematical models required to maintain stable quantum states at this scale, they must be incredibly complex. They were, until we developed quantum-native AI systems that could think in multiple probability states simultaneously. Our ship AIs don't just process information, they exist across multiple timelines, allowing them to calculate optimal solutions by literally trying every possibility at once. A subtle vibration ran through the quantum dream, and Wang's expression became more serious. Ah, right on schedule. Admiral, you might want to brace yourself. We're about to demonstrate our most advanced propulsion system. Before Vexterra could respond, reality shifted. There was no sensation of movement, no acceleration, not even the subtle displacement of standard FTL travel. One moment they were in Earth's orbit, the next, they were halfway across the solar system. How? Kalan began, but Wang interrupted with a raised hand. We didn't move through space, he explained. We simply shifted our quantum state to one where we were already here. No acceleration required, no energy expenditure for movement. We just changed which version of reality we were occupying. Vexterra felt her conception of naval warfare crumbling. The hegemony's entire strategic doctrine was based on controlling space, maintaining superior positioning, and managing energy expenditure for propulsion and combat. But these humans had simply bypassed all of that, creating ships that ignored the conventional rules of physics itself. There's more, Wang continued, his voice taking on an edge of excitement. We've been analyzing your technology as well, and we found ways to combine our approaches. Imagine quantum state manipulation guided by your precision engineering. Ships that could not only shift between states of reality, but do so with perfect accuracy and control. The implications struck Vexterra like a physical blow. You're proposing a joint development program. More than that, Wang replied. We're proposing a complete reimagining of how civilization approaches space travel and exploration. The hegemony has spent millennia mastering the art of working within the universe's rules. We've spent centuries learning how to bend those rules. Together, he gestured at the Einstein's Dream, which was now generating what appeared to be a small galaxy in miniature, perfectly contained within its quantum fields. Together, we could rewrite the rules entirely. As if to emphasize his point, a fleet of ships winked into existence around them. But these weren't just human vessels or hegemony designs. They were hybrids, combining the organic crystalline architecture of hegemony engineering with the reality-bending capabilities of human quantum technology. They moved through space like schools of fish swimming through probability itself, leaving ripples in space-time that glowed with possibilities. The Ghost Fleet was just the beginning, Wang said softly. Wait until you see what we can build together. Vexterra watched the hybrid ships dance through quantum states, and for the first time in her long career, she felt something beyond tactical assessment or diplomatic calculation. She felt wonder. Technological exchange. The Joint Species Development Center floated in Earth orbit like a crystal lotus blooming in space. Its petals were hegemony bioarchitecture, growing and adapting in real time, while its core pulsed with the quantum uncertainty field that characterized human engineering. Inside, history was being made one breakthrough at a time. Dr. Elena Santos stood before a mixed team of human and hegemony scientists, her holographic display showing what appeared to be impossible, a perfect fusion of both species' technological approaches. The breakthrough came when we stopped trying to reconcile our different understanding of physics, she explained, her hands moving through the complex three-dimensional display. Instead, we embraced the contradiction. The prototype ship in the display looked like a dream made solid. Its hull was composed of living crystal, grown using hegemony biotechnology, but each crystal facet contained quantum probability matrices of human design. The result was a vessel that could literally grow new configurations of itself by pulling possibilities from alternate timelines. Remarkable, muttered Chief Engineer Extal, his crystalline appendages shifting through patterns of deep thought. You've used our biological growth patterns to stabilize your quantum fluctuations. The ship isn't just changing states, it's evolving through them. Exactly, Elena beamed. And your crystalline computing architecture provided the perfect medium for our quantum A's. They can now exist in a state of biological quantum superposition, growing and learning across multiple probability states simultaneously. The demonstration continued as the prototype in the simulation encountered various scenarios. When faced with a hostile environment, it grew armor plates that existed in multiple phases of matter simultaneously. When needing to traverse great distances, it developed propulsion systems that borrowed momentum from countless parallel versions of itself. But the real breakthrough, Elena continued, came when we applied these principles to non-military applications. The display shifted to show a barren planet. As they watched, the new hybrid technology went to work. Quantum probability fields interacted with hegemony bioengineering, drawing from timelines where the planet had developed differently. Atmosphere began to form, pulled from possibilities where the world had retained its original gas envelope. Oceans gathered from quantum states where ice caps had never melted. Life itself began to emerge, guided by the living crystal matrices that could now shape reality on a fundamental level. We can terraform planets in months instead of centuries, Elena explained. More than that, we can help worlds find their optimal state by exploring all possible versions of themselves. Kextol's apprentice, a young crystal being named Virix, raised an appendage. But the power requirements don't exist. Elena completed the thought. That's the beauty of it. We're not creating or destroying energy. We're accessing states where it's already arranged how we need it. The crystalline matrices act as quantum probability anchors, allowing us to stabilize specific timelines without expending energy to maintain them. The implications were staggering. Worlds could be transformed not through brute force manipulation of matter and energy, but through gentle guidance of probability itself. Dead planets could be awakened by finding and stabilizing timelines where they have flourished. Dying stars could be rejuvenated by accessing states where they were still young. There's more, Elena said, her voice dropping slightly. We've begun experimenting with information transfer across quantum states. The hegemony's crystal computing, when merged with our quantum probability manipulation, allows us to access knowledge from alternate timelines. Imagine being able to learn from all possible versions of our civilizations, including those that solved problems we're still struggling with. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. This wasn't just a new technology, it was a new way of existing. The barrier between what was and what could be was becoming permeable, manageable. Of course, Extal noted, his tone cautious, this power must be used wisely. The ability to reshape reality itself is precisely why we need both our species working together, Elena completed. Human creativity and willingness to embrace chaos, tempered by hegemony, wisdom, and precision. We're not just combining technologies, we're combining philosophies. As if to demonstrate her point, the prototype in the simulation transformed again. This time, it grew into something that defied conventional description. A living quantum computer that existed across multiple states of reality, its crystalline structure housing consciousness that dwelled in possibility itself. "This is just the beginning," Elena said softly. "We're not just building ships or terraforming planets anymore. We're learning to weave reality itself, to dance between what is and what could be. Together, we're becoming something entirely new." The assembled scientists watched as the simulation showed their combined creation reaching out across space, leaving trails of possibility in its wake. Where it passed, reality itself seemed to become more fluid, more alive with potential. "The question," Elena concluded, "is no longer what we can build. It's what we should build. And that's why this partnership is so crucial. We need both human daring and hegemony wisdom to navigate this new frontier." In the depths of space, the first full-scale prototype of their combined technology was taking shape, growing like a crystal garden blooming across quantum states. It would be more than a ship or a computer or a terraforming engine. It would be the first step toward a civilization that could shape reality itself, not through force, but through understanding of all that was possible. And as the scientists, human and hegemony alike, began planning their next steps, none of them noticed the small reading at the edge of their sensors, a flicker of unauthorized quantum manipulation that suggested someone else was very interested in their work. Crisis point. The alarm that rang through the Joint Species Development Center wasn't a sound. It was a ripple in probability itself. Dr. Elena Santos felt it as a shiver in her quantum-enhanced neural implants, while her hegemony colleagues experienced it as discordant vibrations in their crystalline structures. Multiple unauthorized quantum state manipulations detected. The facility's hybrid AI announced, its voice resonating across both normal space and probability fields. Pattern matches rogue hegemony faction signatures. They're attempting to access the prototype. High Admiral Vexterra's filaments flashed crimson with rage. "The purists," she snarled. "They've always opposed cooperation with other species. Show me." The main display activated, revealing a scene that existed across multiple probability states simultaneously. A fleet of modified hegemony vessels, their crystalline structures corrupted with unauthorized modifications, was attempting to breach the quantum security fields around the prototype. But they weren't just attacking. They were trying to steal the very essence of the new technology. "They're using crude versions of our quantum manipulation techniques," Elena observed, her augmented senses analyzing the attack patterns. "They must have stolen early research data, but they don't understand the underlying principles. They're brute-forcing probability itself. That's insanely dangerous," Stahl warned, his crystalline form vibrating with alarm. "Unstable quantum manipulation on that scale could tear apart the local space-time fabric." The rogue fleet's attempts to breach the facility's defenses were creating cascading waves of probability distortion. Reality itself seemed to shiver around their ships as they tried to exist in multiple states at once, seeking configurations that would allow them to bypass the security systems. "We need to stop them," Vexterra declared. But direct military action could trigger a catastrophic probability cascade. Their unstable quantum fields could interact chaotically with weapons fire. Elena's eyes lit up with sudden inspiration. "Then we don't fight them. We show them why cooperation is essential." She turned to Extol. "The prototype. It's ready for a field test, isn't it?" The hegemony engineer's crystalline surface rippled with uncertainty. "Theoretically, yes. But we haven't fully tested the reality integration protocols." "Perfect," Elena interrupted, "because what we're about to do isn't in any test protocol." She interfaced directly with the facility's systems, her quantum-enhanced consciousness extending into the prototype's control matrix. "Admiral, I need your authorization to activate the full hybrid systems." Vexterra's filaments pulsed with decision. Granted, whatever you're planning, do it fast. The prototype awakened, its crystalline structure flowing like liquid light as quantum probability fields bloomed around it. But instead of taking defensive action, it began to expand its consciousness across multiple states of reality simultaneously. "What are you doing?" Hextall demanded. "Showing them the truth," Elena replied, her voice distant, as her consciousness merged with the prototype systems. Every truth across every possibility. The prototype reached out, not with weapons but with understanding. It touched the probability fields around the purest chips, and suddenly, every member of the rogue fleet was experiencing something unprecedented. They were seeing themselves across all possible timelines simultaneously. They saw versions of themselves where cooperation with humans had led to unimaginable achievements. They witnessed alternate realities where their isolation had led to the hegemony's stagnation and eventual collapse. They experienced timelines where their current actions had torn reality apart, and others where they had chosen differently and helped build wonders beyond imagination. "This is what our combined technology truly offers," Elena's voice echoed across both normal space and probability fields. "Not just the power to change reality, but the wisdom to see all possibilities and choose the best path forward." The effect on the purest fleet was immediate and profound. Ships began powering down their crude quantum manipulation systems as their crews reeled from the experience of seeing all possible versions of themselves at once. The dangerous probability distortions began to stabilize. "By the first crystal," Stahl whispered, "you've shown them everything we could be, across every possible timeline." More importantly, Vexterra added, her filaments shifting to a deep blue of understanding, "you've shown them everything we already are. In all the quantum states we exist in simultaneously. They can't deny the value of cooperation when they've experienced it across a million different possibilities." The prototype continued its work, not just neutralizing the threat, but healing the probability damage the purists' crude attempts had caused. Where reality had been strained, it wove new connections across quantum states. Where probability fields had been distorted, it restored the natural flow of possibility. As the crisis subsided, Elena gradually separated her consciousness from the prototype systems, but something had changed. The experience of existing across multiple states of reality, of seeing all possibilities simultaneously, had left an indelible mark on everyone involved. "We'll need to rethink our security protocols," Vexterra noted, ever the tactician. "But more importantly, we need to rethink how we share this technology. What just happened proves both its power and its danger." "No," Elena corrected gently. "What just happened proves why our partnership is essential. Humans provide the imagination to conceive of new possibilities, while the hegemony provides the wisdom to navigate them safely. Apart, we risk chaos or stagnation. Together," she gestured at the prototype, still gently manipulating quantum fields to heal the damaged fabric of space-time. "Together, we can do more than explore reality. We can nurture it, guide it, help it grow into something more beautiful than either of our species could have imagined alone." In the space around them, the purest ships were powering down, their crews forever changed by what they had experienced. And in the quantum fields that permeated everything, new possibilities were blooming. Possibilities that would lead both species toward a future neither could have reached alone. New Era Dawn. 1 year after the Purist incident, the Quantum Nexus station hung in space like a dream made manifest. Its crystalline spires grew through multiple probability states simultaneously, while quantum fields danced around it like auroras of possibility. The station represented more than a technological achievement. It was a symbol of how far both species had come together. Inside the station's central chamber, High Admiral Vexterra and Dr. Elena Santos stood before a gathered assembly of human and hegemony leaders. Behind them, a massive viewing window showed a sight that would have been impossible just a year ago. Ships of both species, their designs now seamlessly blending crystalline biotechnology with quantum probability manipulation, moving through space like schools of fish, swimming through streams of reality itself. The universe is not what we thought it was. Elena began, her neural implants creating subtle quantum echoes that allowed her words to resonate on multiple levels of reality simultaneously. It's not a single fixed timeline marching forward. It's an ocean of possibility, and we're finally learning to swim. Vexterra's filaments shifted in patterns of agreement as she continued the presentation. The purest incident taught us something crucial. Power without wisdom is dangerous, but wisdom without innovation leads to stagnation. Together, we found a balance that neither of our species could have achieved alone. The main display activated, showing their latest breakthrough. It wasn't a weapon or a shield or even a ship. It was something entirely new. The Quantum Harmony Network, a vast web of crystalline nodes existing across multiple quantum states, allowing instant communication and cooperation not just across space, but across possible realities. We're no longer just exploring space, Elena explained. We're exploring possibility itself. The network allows us to learn from every version of ourselves across every timeline. When one reality faces a crisis, we can draw on solutions found in others. The display shifted to show their newest vessels, the probability weavers. Unlike traditional ships, these were more like mobile reality anchors, capable of stabilizing beneficial quantum states and gently redirecting harmful ones. They didn't just travel through space, they nurtured it, helping reality itself grow toward its highest potential. But our greatest achievement isn't technological, Vexterra added. It's philosophical. We've learned that strength doesn't come from domination or isolation. It comes from synthesis, the blending of different perspectives, different approaches, different ways of seeing reality itself. As if to demonstrate her point, the station's quantum field suddenly shifted, allowing everyone present to briefly experience multiple versions of themselves simultaneously. They saw timelines where their species had never met, where they had fought, where they had failed to cooperate, and they saw the incredible achievements possible when they worked together. The next phase begins today, Elena announced. The network isn't just for our two species. We're extending an invitation to all spacefaring civilizations, not to join an empire or submit to authority, but to participate in something greater, a cooperative effort to nurture reality itself. The display showed their vision, a galaxy where quantum probability manipulation and crystalline biotechnology worked together to heal dying stars, restore lost worlds, and open new frontiers of possibility. Ships that didn't just explore space but helped it flourish. Communications that didn't just cross distance but learned from all possible outcomes. Some will say we're playing with forces we don't understand. Vexterra acknowledged that we're meddling with the fundamental nature of reality itself. Her filaments shifted to a pattern that humans had learned to recognize as a smile. And they're right. We are. But we're doing it together, with wisdom and purpose. Elena gestured to the window, where the hybrid ships continued their quantum dance. Look at them. Each one exists in multiple states simultaneously, just like reality itself. They don't fight against the chaos of quantum uncertainty. They embrace it, guide it, help it grow into something beautiful. That's what we've become, Vexterra concluded. Not conquerors of reality, but gardeners of possibility. And this is just the beginning. As if in response to her words, the Quantum Harmony Network activated fully for the first time. Across the galaxy, crystalline nodes bloomed into existence, each one a bridge between what was and what could be. The network didn't just connect space. It connected possibility itself, creating a web of cooperation and understanding that transcended the limitations of any single reality. In that moment, as humans and hegemony members watched their combined creation come to life, they understood that they had achieved something far greater than technological advancement. They had evolved beyond the boundaries of their original species, beyond the limitations of single-state existence, into something new. Gardeners of reality itself, nurturing the very fabric of existence toward its highest potential. The future that stretched before them wasn't just one of exploration or advancement. It was one of nurturing, of growing, of helping reality itself achieve its fullest potential. And they would face that future not as separate species, but as partners in the greatest adventure either civilization had ever undertaken: the cultivation of possibility itself. As the ceremony concluded, Alina and Vexterra shared a look of understanding.